What's up guys, welcome to another Tutorial Tuesday. Today's episode, I'm going to show you guys how to get some motion in your pictures and do this really cool Parallax 2.5D type of motion.
I'm going to use the drift method. Freaking incredible. Round F16 for that to get that sunburst.
So I just got back from the Albuquerque Balloon Festival, which is the most photographed event in the world, and I spent like 10 days up there, like I do every year pretty much, shooting and time-lapsing and all this cool stuff, and I'm editing just this, some of the stuff and just making a little B-roll video stuff, and I wanted, something was missing, I wanted something extra, so I figured I had this shot, and it looked really cool, and it did really well on Instagram and all that stuff, for me anyways. And I thought, well, what else can I do with that? And then I haven't done this effect in a long time, so I figured, hey, this is a good time for that. And I did that effect. So it's not that difficult to do. It just takes a little bit of making sure you're shooting the right things, because you can't, it doesn't really work very well with images that don't have like clean backgrounds or a clean defined subject or anything like that. So this image here really worked well for that because the background is real clean and the subject is real clean, which means it's easier for me to cut out and isolate it and all that stuff. So let's go ahead and jump into Photoshop and I'll show you how to get this done.
Alright, so here's the image that I want to use. This is, I'm in Bridge right now and I've already edited it and everything, got it the way I want it, so make sure you do that first. And then once it's looking the way you want it, let's go ahead and open it back up. So the first thing we need to do is we need to separate the subject and the background. So I want this to be my subject, the cannon balloon. So I'm gonna zoom in here pretty good. And now I'm gonna come down here and get the pen tool, P for pen tool, and I'm going to start masking this out. Okay, so once that's done, there's a lot of different ways you can do this. I'm using the pen tool, but if you want, you can use the lasso tool or the quick selection tool or something, whatever makes your selection. There's a bunch of different ways to do that. I'm gonna right click on here and go down to make selection. I usually have it by default set on around 0.5 or maybe even 1, but I wouldn't go any higher than that for your pixel feather radius. Then I'm gonna make a new copy or a new layer, so Control Shift N for a new layer. Okay, so once you have that new selection and you made your new layer, then you just want to copy this, so make sure you're on your background layer and hit Control C, and then come up here to your new layer and Control V, and bam, that will have pasted. If I turn that off, now you can just see the new layer. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to get rid of this balloon, and we need to, on the background layer, so if I just hit Control and click, then that and click on the layer, then that'll bring up my selection again. So there's a few ways you can do this. You can hit Shift F5, and then that'll do Content Aware Fill, or you can use your brush tool. So I'm just going to come up here and use the Heal tool real quick, and I'm just going to, you can make sure that layer is turned off. And then make sure your background where you deleted it looks decent. It doesn't have to look perfect, but just make sure it looks decent. So there it is. All right, so now that we got that good, make sure you have both layers turned on. And next we need to make a new document. So we're gonna hit Control N. Now I'll bring up new document and make it whatever size you want for the video to be, because it's gonna be kind of a video, and if you're gonna put it into your video. So if you have a 1080p video, then it's gonna be 1920 by 1080. If you have 4K video, then it's gonna be whatever your 4K is. The 3840 by 2160, but I'm just going to do 1080 since I'm dropping this in the YouTube video, and I'll probably put it on Instagram. So I already have one created here, and it doesn't matter what your background is, you can have black or white. So then we're going to come back here and we are going to, I'm just going to pull this out a little bit so I can see. Now I can take these two layers, shift click, and I'm just going to hold them and drag them onto my new layer. Okay, so now we have that. If you hit Control T and then Control 0, you'll be able to see what you have going on and where you want it. So if you want it to start out pretty close to how it was, it'd be something like that. You can hit OK. So now what we need to do is we're going to select each one of these at a time, start with layer 1, convert to smart object, and then layer 2, convert to smart objects. So now they're both smart objects. The smart objects will keep it from losing resolutions when you scale. So next, just go up here to Window and go to Timeline, and then Create Video Timeline. And then there, now we have video in Photoshop. Now we're gonna start making the parallax effects. So first thing I'm gonna do is, I want the balloon to start out a little bit bigger. So I'm gonna come down here and go to Transform and click the little stopwatch. So we're gonna make a keyframe here. And I'm gonna hit, with layer 2 selected, I'm gonna hit Control T so that I can transform it. And I'm gonna hold Shift down and drag this up just a little bit. So now that's much bigger. We'll hit OK. And then I'm going to come all the way over here to the end, and then I'm going to hit Control T again, and we're going to drag it back down with Shift click to something like that. Okay. So now we're going to come all the way back here, and you'll see the balloon changing size. So now we're going to come back to layer 1, which is our landscape layer, and drop down again, transform. So I want the background to get bigger while the balloon gets smaller. So that's going to have the opposite effect. You can flip-flop that if you want, just make them opposite so that you can see the effect. So we'll hit Control T. So we'll scrub to the end here. And again, background layer is selected. We'll hit Control T again, and we're going to shift click, and we're going to bring this up, and I'm going to move it just a little bit like so. Okay. And then you can see what you got. Okay, so there it is, nice and smooth after it renders out. And that's pretty much what I wanted. And it'll just loop, so just hit spacebar to stop it. And then I'm done. So now I'm just going to come up here to File and Export Render Video. Title it whatever you need to. And then I pretty much keep most of this the same, so just make sure it's the right size, the 1920 by 1080 for me. I like to keep it on highest quality, and make sure your frame rate is right. I use the 24p, which is 23.976, so I have that selected here. By default, it'll probably be on 2997, so I just bring it back up to here, so it'll match the rest of my videos. And then I just leave everything else the same and render. And there it is. So I'll go ahead and throw this into my little B-roll clip, and then I'll play that for you guys at the end if you want to see some of the Balloon Fiesta with this in there.
Alright, so that was it. It's not super complicated, but it does take a little bit of effort and a little bit of definitely pre-cogitation in terms of what you're shooting and how you're shooting, but definitely go through your old images and see if any of them have what it takes to really make this type of effect work. And then keep that in mind for future shoots, you know, because this is a pretty cool effect if you don't overdo it and if you got the right subject. And most importantly, like everything with storytelling, make sure it fits the story that you're working with. So if you guys have any questions about anything that I did or didn't do concerning how I did this, make sure you leave those in the comments below and I'll definitely answer them. And if you guys are on the Instagrams or the social medias or something, I think I'm only on Instagram and Facebook, but if you're on Instagram, definitely tag me in anything that you make like this, because I'd love to see your creativity. The whole community thing, that's what it's all about, right? So I would love to see what you guys are doing, and then you guys can follow me on Instagram too, and you can see whatever else I'm doing, because I'll probably do some more of these because they're fun. Alright, so make sure you hit that like button if this helped you out. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I've got new videos every Tuesday and Friday. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.